I don't normally make a habit of naming and shaming anyone on this channel, but the actions of one driver in my latest Low Fuel Motorsport race on rFactor 2 has left my blood boiling, and I won't be the only one. The majority of the people on the grid had their qualifying or race ruined by this individual, who clearly only had one intention from the outset, and that was to troll the lobby. This is the worst and most disgraceful example of sim racing I've ever seen. In fact, we can't even call it sim racing. I know what I'd like to call it, but it would probably get my channel banned. Now, here's the first incident that brought this guy to my attention. I'm just starting my first flying lap in qualifying when this happens. I saw the cars coming out of pit lane, but I wasn't expecting anyone to cross the white line and go straight onto the racing line. At first, I assumed it was just carelessness, but as the session went on, more and more drivers were complaining about this individual in the race chat. Now, I'm not going to name him here because I'll be filing a protest to Low Fuel Motorsport for them to take action. I'm sure plenty of other drivers will be too. LFM's protest and report system really is very good, so I've got no doubt that we won't see this guy on a Low Fuel Motorsport grid again. However, let me show you just some of the things he got up to. You really won't believe it. We've just watched the build-up to my incident where we saw him actually waiting at the end of pit lane for cars to come before he did this. That leaves me in no doubt that it's deliberate. And then he goes and does the very same thing again. A lap later, look, he's waiting at the end of pit lane until the faster cars are coming so he can deliberately move in front of them and try and pump them off. You can't even argue that this might be an act of retaliation for an incident that happened in a previous race, because these acts are completely random. He is just picking drivers off one by one here. This is another instant further in the lap. He's waiting slowly off the racing line until the faster cars catch him up, and then he targets another driver, punting him off and ruining his qualifying lap. Now, unbelievably, his behaviour is only going to get worse. Let's return to pit lane and we'll see once again he swerves out into the racing line and then tries to punt a driver off on his qualifying lap. He fails, but crashes spectacularly over the barriers before coming to rest on the opposite part of the track. And that gives him an opportunity to try and ruin even more laps. He tags one driver there. Obviously his car is heavily damaged by now, so he's struggling to get back on track, but he's doing everything in his power to hit every car that he can here. And he's still not done. Look, he's going to rejoin for another go. Cars coming past him. These guys are getting lucky and getting through okay, but he's going to try one final big hit right here. Now, thankfully he failed with that one, but the entire qualifying session was ruined. Nobody was able to get a good lap in with this guy on track, and we haven't even got to the race yet. This is when it gets even worse. You will not believe this. Look to the back of the grid. He's not waiting for the green lights. He's only waiting for a full grid so he can get straight to work, ruining as many races as he can before the lights even come on. Now, I've seen some careless, reckless and downright deliberate acts in my time, but I've never seen anything as ridiculous as this. An absolute disgrace. Now, the only blessing was that after he hit 3 or 4 cars on the grid, he was disqualified, so the rest of us didn't have to worry about him, but the damage had been done. Let's ride on board with him now. We can see his evil intent. Now, to be fair, this could have been even worse on the start line. The fact he's so incompetent, he can't even hit 2 stationary cars correctly. Somehow missing the pair of them and going into the wall, and by the time he gets a second run at it, the lights have just gone green and the damage is limited. Now watch this poor guy who was alongside him on the back of the grid. We're about ready to go here, and instead he decides that the only safe thing to do is reverse rather than go forward. He wants nothing to do with the carnage ahead of him, and I can't say that I blame him. So all in all, this is the most disappointed I've ever felt in sim racing. It's such a shame that there are people out there who take pleasure out of ruining the enjoyment for others. And it's particularly frustrating for me because my sim racing time is so precious. Often I'll only have time to do one race, and when that one race contains a driver such as this guy, it really is infuriating. Have you ever suffered a similar horror story? Let me know in the comments below. Well, the good news is, once this idiot was disqualified, the rest of us actually got a decent race in. Stay tuned for that on the channel later this week, where I'll get back to making the videos I want to make. Good, fair racing, full of excitement and enjoyment. Thanks for watching.